Hello, everyone, and thank you to my podcast, Senior to Seniors, where I dive into the stories of seniors, explore their unique experiences, discuss the real issues facing seniors today, and introduce you to those assisting seniors in their senior journey. I have the privilege to talk with some of the most interesting people in the world impacting the senior community today. And today, I have one of those very interesting people. And I want to welcome you, Cynthia Schwartzberg. So, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. It's
So,
nice
let,
to be here.
yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So, let me just tell the audience a little bit about you. And I try to minimize all the accolades that I read about you and everything that I have. So I'll try to be as short as I can, but I think it's really important as we get started with this podcast that the audience understand just who you are. So Cynthia Schwartzberg, LCSW, which stands for a licensed clinical social worker, is a pioneering therapist with over 30 years of clinical experience. As the creator of Harmonic Brain Healing, Cynthia offers a revolutionary approach that integrates focused mindfulness, brain body attunement, and narrative transformation to disrupt trauma patterns and facilitate lasting change towards a creative, fulfilling life. A leading expert in brain spotting, and we're going to talk a lot about brain spotting therapy. Cynthia trains and mentors therapists, coaches, and healers internationally in this cutting edge brain body based approach to trauma and emotional healing. Her work empowers professionals and clients to access deeper self awareness, creativity, and resilience. Cynthia's book, The Curious Voyage to Authhenticity, a rule breaking guide for personal growth, provides readers with an innovative roadmap for overcoming limiting beliefs and reconnecting with their authentic selves. Her approach specializes in personal transformation, trauma healing, and self empowerment. Cynthia brings compelling insights to the discussions that she's part of on mental health, personal growth, leadership, emotional resilience, and so much more. So, again, Cynthia, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
So, I want to and will make sure everybody on our podcast today knows how to get in touch with you, has your website and more information on you, but I don't want to give that away just yet because I want them to stick here and not go to the end. But first of all, I want you to know how much I enjoyed your book, which I have in front of me. And if I went through it, you could see all kinds of highlights and notes that I've made. And this is what the book looks like, The Curious Voyage to Authenticity. So tell me, Cynthia, how did you get to this point of writing the book?
So, throughout the years, I've always done some form of body mind work with people
Mm-hmm.
and doing different processes or exercises to help them on their journey.
Yeah.
And over time, people would say, you should write a book. And I'm like, yeah. And then one day I started to write it and I would put little pieces of paper in a shoebox, is what a coach recommended to me.
Yeah.
And then I, postponed it. And then I tried to write it. And I realized that while I was writing it, I wasn't really that interested in it because it didn't have much hope in it. So I was like not at a good place in my life to do it. So as time went on and I healed and I got clearer of a message that I really wanted to put out, and the fact that I really wanted to share the tools with people, I sat down again and wrote the book from a very different place, but more from this is what you can learn from myself and from people that I've worked with. This is what maybe could help you. And let's go on this journey together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
yeah.
it's quite a journey that you take people on, and it's a great journey. So tell me, um, that inspired you to create the Curious Voyage. Um, how can seniors, and my audience is a lot of
Yeah.
seniors, how can seniors embark upon their own personal journey to authenticity?
It's a great question because as seniors, like especially I'm noticing people who are going towards retirement, who have been
Hmm.
very, very busy in their lives, or people who got busy to avoid something when they were younger, some pain that they might have had. When
Yeah.
that kind of ends, it's like, ooh, it's a lot, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So this gives you some tools to get reflective and to come a little bit out of your own isolation or out of those limited ways of thinking so that you can have new inspiration because we're never too old to shift our mind and to discover something new and to get curious. And as we grow older, they do say it's really important to keep our minds sharp, to learn something new, to challenge ourselves with like puzzles or word games or mathematical games. So looking at our life is what we do when we're seniors also.
Hmm.
Like we look, we reflect, but we've been telling ourselves stories over and over and over again. And maybe it's time to edit the stories and have a different way of carrying on for as long as we can, because we never know.
So how do we edit those stories? Could you give me an example how a
Yeah.
person might do
So
it?
let's say when I was really young, my parents were getting divorced, and I thought I kind of got into shock.
Okay.
So, one thing I was really good at was taking care of other people. So, I spent my life taking care of other people. I spent my life going to work, and I had purpose. But
Hmm.
then I'm giving it just a scenario. Then the
Sure.
place downsizes and they're cutting off the top and they cut me out and I have to retire.
Yes.
Well, now I have not a lot to do. I've been kind of busy helping other people. So I'm a little bit lost. I don't know who I am. Well, what happens if I started to say, what do I like to do? I don't know. I'm going to
Hmm.
just try. I'm going to give to other people, but I want to spend a little bit of time in that discomfort zone. And then I might realize it's really too uncomfortable and I kind of do remember that thing that happened when I was younger. So one thing I can do is start to write and journal. Journaling is great. It's great for so many aspects. If for some reason holding a pen is hard, you a lot. If you have a phone these days, you can do dictation and talk into a phone. They can translate it into a transcript for you so that you can read what you were saying and have a little, longer document with it. But if I reflect back and I realize that was really painful, I might need to reach out and get a little bit of help, or I might start to have a dialogue like being a grandma to an adolescent and talk to myself a little bit. So in the Curious Voyage, I do give a meditation exercise with the three voices. Now, this is a great introduction to what they call nowadays parts work.
Okay.
If you ever saw the movie Inside Out, you can see that we're all made of parts. Now, yes, it's a Pixar movie. It's really good for any age.
Hmm.
And I would highly recommend it to just start to loosen ourselves up and open up and to consider that any stressful time in our lives, maybe we kind of told ourselves a story and got stuck there, or in this situation, I just sort of like froze. So I need some warmth. I need some warmth emotionally. I need some warmth maybe body-wise, but I need some warmth with friendship. I need some warmth that I got from work, but I'm not getting it anymore. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does. Makes total sense.
So back to our scenario. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide to just journal and write about how crappy it was. I felt caught in the middle. My parents weren't getting along. I didn't know what to do. I went to my friend's house. My friend's house really wasn't that much better than my house. And then I started to smoke cigarettes. And then before you knew it, I was going to parties and I was drinking. And I don't know, I kind of like lost and forgot about the whole thing. Well, now that I'm a senior, I'm and I stopped drinking or I stopped smoking because my doctor told me to, whatever your story is that you want to add into that. I'm going to just let myself remember a few things that were hard then because I'm the stronger person now. I got enough through life. I've got enough strength in my backpack. I have enough resources, whatever words you want to put to it. Sure. Maybe I have enough religion. Maybe I have a better connection to like a God of my understanding. Whatever it is, I've got more than what I had then. I was a kid then. Everything was breaking up. My parents were going. I had not much.
So this is basically what you talk about in childhood core beliefs.
Yes, right? Yes. This is a core belief. But once I start to unpack it and see whatever patterns that were going on or that I took on in life, I can begin to unpack that core belief.
So a lot of people can unpack their beliefs by seeking spiritual paths, by if they're feeling disconnected or stuck. So in your experience and of those people that you've worked with in therapy or talked to, studied, how does emotional healing naturally open the door to spiritual awakening? Does that make any sense?
Well, I guess I got a little confused. Did you say they came to spiritual to get the healing, or after the healing they came to the spiritual?
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people at this point in their life, in their senior point, will seek spiritual paths when they're feeling disconnected or they're stuck. So in your experience in dealing with people that might be doing that, how does that work? How does feeling disconnected or stuck, what can people do to get out of that, to not being stuck in that whole thing? Does that make sense?
What you're talking about is how can somebody get unstuck to be able to go towards their spirituality? Or so it can go both ways.
Okay.
That's why I think the question is organically going both ways.
Okay.
Because I feel lost, I feel down, I feel out. Let's say I start to read some poetry, or I start to read a daily reader, or I start to read the Bible, whatever it is for somebody.
Yes.
Something about that makes me feel a little bit lighter. Okay. Now, words have power, and words have what's really vibration and energy. And when I start to receive something that's more nourishing than what's up here, I'm going to get a little, feel lighter. It's like watering a wilting flower. So how that works is I'm building almost new neural pathways in my brain because I'm starting to redirect my thinking to something that has some nourishment to me rather than my negative thinking thoughts.
I got it. I understand.
Right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, let's say I'm really stuck. Some people go, like, let's say that, for example, the 12-step program. The 12-step program is a program that helps people with all different kinds of addictions.
Sure.
Traditionally, we know it for alcoholism, but they have certain tools. One of their tools is a serenity prayer. And part of the steps is to make a connection to something greater than yourself.
Right.
When we feel this, we also feel less isolated, less alone. We feel connected, and we also feel that maybe I have a purpose. So spirituality guides us towards purpose. And I think what happens traditionally with seniors is I've lost my purpose in life. My purpose in life was to provide for my family. My purpose in life was to wake up and to do whatever my routine was. And once that's gone, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was just reading on Facebook today, someone that went on the 40-mile journey in Spain. I can't remember
Oh,
exactly what it was.
the El Camino?
Yes, and he's a writer that has written his whole life. He went on this journey, this 40-mile journey.
400. It's
Yeah,
actually 400 or 500 miles.
yeah, 40 days, right? Yeah, I'm
40
sorry.
days.
And so while you're doing that, you're really one with yourself.
Yes.
You have time to think as you've never had time to think before. But now the issue for him is he's come back from that 40 days, the 400 or 500 miles that he was on, from being alone. And the words that once came to him when he was writing are harder for him to write now because he's been taken into a different place, and it's completely changed the way he thinks. So there's no doubt that his purpose maybe has been transformed on this trip, you know.
Yes.
And I know that that's a challenge for a lot of people. In my own way, as I have approached 70, I'm now 71, but as my business has changed, my sense of purpose has also changed because I was basically taken from a job that I had running a company into retirement, okay, to be with family in Texas. I went from Oregon, moved to Texas, no longer have my company any longer, and my purpose was suddenly gone. It vanished. But what I've tried to do, which I think hopefully a lot of seniors try to do themselves, is to repurpose themselves, is
Yes.
to find a new path. Mine was, instead of serving the general public with real estate, is to focusing on seniors,
Yeah.
focusing on the issues that seniors have. And then through podcasts, bring in experts who can help seniors. It's much more than a real estate thing.
Yeah.
It's much more of a repurposing, reconnecting, and being somewhat of a caretaker, in a way that my mission is to help people in more ways than just selling a dumb house. I mean, there's so much more to it. But let me get to another point in your book. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Can I
talk
just
about.
add one thing that I think is important?
Yes, please.
And it has to do with our identity. If my identity is what I do, then it's going to be harder. And what I hear this man found was they often call it like a pilgrimage. He found something else within himself. So the outside way of identifying yourself changes. The same thing like with you found, I need a new purpose, but the purpose is coming now, sounds like, from a very deep, heartfelt place in you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think when we follow our passion, that's why the Curious Voyage is we're loosening up that energy. You have more passion. You go towards your passion. You do what inspires you. You're organically living your purpose.
Exactly. So in your book, Cynthia, you also talk about, you encourage people in breaking rules to find their authenticity, right? Could you explain what did you mean by that?
Well, I don't mean like going and breaking the law,
Yeah,
but
you're
I
right.
do
Right.
mean that some of us are law upholders. Like, I'm so scared and I'm going to do what's right. But I don't know whether that's coming from my values. Is that my priority in life? Or am I just on automatic pilot because I was told that's how we do things? And you'll often hear people say, well, that's how we do it in our family. Or
Right.
that's what my mother did with me. So therefore, I'm not going to let you do this, that, or the other thing, like when we're parenting, for example. But why? Why not? What does it really mean to you? So I can act more from my heart, more from my intuition, more from my authentic self when I'm living by my values, and those are in alignment with what feels right, not just because I'm supposed to. Okay. So it's kind of like learning to break the supposed tos, and also following your creativity. Like for myself, I was not the rebellious teenager in my household, but I did things different. Well, like, for example, when I was in college, I tried out to be a math major. That didn't work. And then I switched to psychology, but there was an independent study in psychology. So I joined that program and I created an independent study with dance therapy and psychology. So I found ways to not to beat a system, but to expand a system that serves everybody. It's a win-win.
You look beyond the rules, right? Maybe
yes.
The accepted rules and went beyond that.
Right. Or even when I learned there's a modality called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
Yes.
I don't know. But anyways, I did not do it exactly the way it was formatted to be done, but it worked for my clients. You know, and I already was doing a different modality called core energetics, which works with the eyes. So it's like, okay, well, why don't we integrate? So it's more about gathering, integrating, bringing things together, doing things slightly differently, but for the better of all. That's what I mean.
Sure. So expanding really is, for you, it was about discovery, perhaps, right? A new discovery of maybe what hadn't been done before, or it wasn't looked at that way before. So tell us about mindsets a little bit. In the sales business, in the real estate business, mindset is huge. It's so important that you have to enter each day with the right mindset. So can you share with us, if you could, a simple mindset shift or a practice from your book that someone could use today to reconnect with their inner authenticity?
Well, I'll just quickly say before we got on, I think when we were talking about gratitude.
Yes.
And talked about 10. So if I go to sleep or I wake up or I do both and start to think of gratitude, what am I going to be grateful for today? In the Curious Voyage, I talk about doing a daily, I guess it's in the journal. I have daily reflections. What's 3 things that I'm grateful for today?
Correct. Because
then they found that gratitude opens up the brain. It opens up your neurosystems, and you can shift your brain's state.
Yeah.
So the one thing that, for example, let's say I want to start to live into a new mindset. What I talk about in the book is write it down on a Post-it. Put the Post-it on the wall, read it. When you're walking around, move it to someplace else so it can still be fresh and new. Because I don't know about you, but like I could pass the same thing over and over. You forget that you even saw it.
You don't see it anymore.
Right. So you want to see it, be fresh and new. I also talk about You Are Magnificent as an exercise in the book where you look in the mirror and you speak to yourself and you just see yourself for who you really are. And you start to just say, I have value. I have more to give than I ever thought before. I'm going to give it. Whatever that statement is for you. Or you can just say, hello, gorgeous. Hello, beautiful. Hello, inspired one. Hello, creative one. Whatever name you want to give yourself that you're trying to live into. And walking past reflection, let the reflections feed your neurobiology to start to change your energy. So you're talking to yourself and you're also energetically receiving it from yourself.
Mm.
So those are a few things that you can do. But again, going back to journaling, you can do it a little bit deeper. And you
Yes.
can write down the negative, first, the mindset that you're at now. And you can, like, let's say my mindset is, I can't do that. Somebody wants me to start to come out and to maybe learn like a new game. Let's say I'm a senior and I really always wanted to learn Mahjong, but it's just too difficult. I can't do that. Start to journal. Is that true? When did you first start thinking that? What would happen? What's the possibility of changing that? Would that, how would that make me feel? Would that inspire me? What would I need to let go of in order to do that?
Sure.
These kinds of self-inquiry questions will help you begin to shift it. Now, so in the book, we talk about, peeling away the belief system. I might then take that mindset and bring it to the three voices that we talk about. And that voice says, I can't.
Yeah.
And is that really true? Then maybe I feel stuck. So you talked about going to spirituality. I might need to ask the best of me, or they call it like a higher power, a God self,
Sure.
that my heart self. Can you please help me with this stuck part? And then in the book, there's an exercise of dialoguing with those three parts. I actually have a little video I did years ago on YouTube. I don't know if it's in the book or not. I could get it for you if you wanted. But you could even do it by putting down three pillows and sitting in a pillow and then shifting to another pillow and another pillow, letting each pillow represent a part of you. Because if we speak from a certain part of ourselves, we think like that's all of I am. I am the person that can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right.
where's the person that said, is that true? But if I pick myself up and I literally move into another direction, another spot, I'll be speaking from another place inside me too.
I see. Yeah. Even maybe an exercise of taking a piece of paper and, just a blank piece of paper and drawing a couple lines in the
Yes.
paper, with one side being, I can't do this, or what you can't do. And maybe in the middle section, say, well, what would I need in order to do it? And maybe
Yes.
the next section is, so how can I get to the point where I can do it? First, identify what I can't do, identify, how to get to it, and then to do it, maybe by splitting
Well,
piece
the
of paper.
third one I would also add, or add a fourth one. How would it feel to do that?
Yeah.
Because if we can start to project into the future time, how that might feel, what might that look like? It will loosen up the cobwebs inside and give some inspiration.
Yeah. Well, as I was reading your book and looking at your website and investigating everything that was in here as best as I could, there's one sentence that struck me more than any, and it's very short, but you said, following our heart and our truth is the only rule we need. And I think that spoke to me for everything, for all the exercises that you have in your book that can help people discover so much about themselves. Just find your truth, and it's there if you look for it. So Cynthia, what is one question I didn't ask today that you think that those listening to my podcast, our podcast, what's the one question I didn't ask that you were hoping that I would ask, or you would like to expound upon, what might that be?
Is it possible? And a lot of seniors have lived for a really long time, and many things may not have been possible. But to begin to consider anything is possible. And if we go back to the mindset, if I make up my mind and I start to believe it and I start to live into it, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your book certainly opens that up for people. And it's so interesting and so good to have spoken to you about it. So tell people how they can find you, your website, and what might be on your website that they might value.
Okay. So synthesis, so it's a play on words. It's CYNTHASIS. Synthesis.com.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, as you can see in your background, some freebie things that are exercises that people can get on there. They can get a link to the book. So this is grounding exercises, ways of helping us feel more present and more vibrant. There's other exercises in there on anything from, I think there's a self-help, self-spotting exercise on there. Oh, and one thing I did want to also mention is that with the Curious Voyage, I do have classes because self-help books are very hard to do alone.
Yes,
so
they are.
I mentioned that I'll be starting another class in the fall. I will have free. That you or me?
That was me, and I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So the Curious Voyage classes on the website, I do have also some free talks that I'm going to post up by next week that will be available to people. So stop in and see what tools are there for you to strengthen your connections and feel more empowered.
Sure. And, in your book and on your site, you talk about actionable steps people can take. And, you talk about visualization, you talk about dancing, sitting down or standing, breathing, exploring, your currents, finding beliefs, intention setting. I mean, there's so much in there that people can do, and expand your mind. Anything is possible. And
the only one other thing I just want to quickly add is it might look a little packed for only professionals, but I want to say that there is a spot that's for everybody. And under the resource section, make sure you go down to the freebies for your listeners so that they don't feel like they're not in the profession. They can't do this. There's stuff there that they can use, and I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah, the freebie that you offer, which is behind me, which people can see, is excellent. If they can't find it on your website, they can reach me, and I will, of course, send it off to them. It's very easy to understand. I printed it off, and it's just a lot of communication systems in your body and so forth that people can experiment with. So, Cynthia, this has been a joy, and I've learned so much today, and I'm going to learn more. I encourage everybody to grab your book called The Curious Voyage to Authhenticity, and I hope we meet again, and thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.